But I want to carry on with the magical passes because they've given me so much, and it's all the inner searching stuff. I'm going to get all emotional now. So originally, as Don Juan described it, the magical passes were performed by the shamans of ancient Mexico, individually and in solitariness, on the spur of the moment. So we need to do more of this. When you feel like the spur, it's like when you go get on your horse and you don't need the metal thing to get on your horse. You know what I mean? I used to ride horses as a child with nothing. There was literally just the little rope thing that they used to have on their head, bareback. And I'd fall off, they'd trample my arm, and I'd get back on, and we'd just carry on. So, and it's kind of a bit like this. Those are magical passes because, and that's nature. You know, these creatures are amazing. The smell of a horse is just you can't you can't replace that with anything else. That every creature has their own smell. Sorry, you might not like that. Have I triggered anyone? Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? He taught them to be to his disciple. He taught them what? Ah, there's a typo. So he taught this to his disciples in the same fashion. Don Juan stated that for the shaman practitioners, the challenge of performing the magical passes has always been to execute them perfectly. It's actually like dance, the magical passes. So, and it doesn't matter what music you like, moving your body is an amazing thing. You know, there is like this, there's no word for it. And because I did a lot of dancing, and I did a lot of raving, and it was a lot of fun. You know, I haven't done it for quite a while. Anywho, so I've lost my spot now. Ugh, always. So here's the thing: holding the mind, only the abstract view of their perfect execution. So I want to add something to the holding the mind because we all share the mind. The mind is outside our physicality. It is where we bring true consciousness, consciousness. I think they're two slightly different things, but they connect definitely. But so the mind is something that we all share, and I don't care what anybody says, animals share the same mind as us. I know people think, you knew they're below us. We're so much better than them. No, but they're not actually. I mean, we're not. They are so more connected to Great Spirit, Great Source, God, consciousness, would I don't know all them blooming names. You know what I mean? So it's kind of important to realize that when you read books like this, you do really have to know your peace of mind. There is a reason why it's called your peace of mind, because it is your aspect, your experience of whether you're physical or whether you're energetic, right? And we are both. And we're not always here. We're not always in this world, if that makes sense. So, the mind. Only abstract view of their perfect execution. Now, execution has been misused. We can pick all the words apart. I think we should really pick them apart because when you actually realize what you're speaking, you're making a spell. You know, and when you feel things as well, you're making a spell. So if you feel good about someone, great. And here's the thing: in my old git age, I've learned that sometimes you have to just let it go. Okay, if they want to be like that, let them be like that. Be who you are. Realize that you are an amazing, powerful aspect of Source. We all are this. Some have forgotten. Okay, and that's You know, maybe that's what they have to experience. I don't know. There's a guy I listen to. I'm not going to mention his channel until the end, but he also makes me think a lot. You know, he makes my mind expand, and a lot of you make my mind expand. You know, there's you know who you are. So, holding the mind, only the abstract view, ideally tensegrity. So that is, you don't even need these rubber bands and to go onto machines with heavy weights and things like that. Tensegrity is kind of like Tai Chi. So you go out into nature, if that you can do it in your rooms, or you can go out in the garden or do it out on the street. You'll really get a laugh from the neighbours. I haven't done that yet. I might do it though. So tensegrity should be taught and practiced in the same fashion. So it should be with your heart and your mind and your gut. It's not so much about the brain, those that I've mentioned. It is when you feel that wordless energy coming through from that amazing thing that we come from. Because we were here before we were physical. Come on. You've got to be real. Anyway, I digress, as usual. Sorry. They're bound to make this private because YT likes to make my videos private, and then I have to go back and have a look, and I'm like, oh, that's why nobody looked at it. Thank you, Wolfie girl. So, however, the conditions of modern life. Hang on, I'm going to have to skip back. Tensegrity should be taught. Now, taught in the English language has two words. Taut is either you're pulling an elastic band or something stretchy, or you're learning something. So there we are. There's another word that we can pick apart. And there's probably more meanings, but I'm not going to go into that right now. And practiced in the same fashion. Now, fashion is another thing. I studied dressmaking. I was lucky enough to do metalwork, woodwork, um, sculpture. You know, I had to learn how to sharpen my own tools at number 7. Number 7, you know, when you're 7, and people are going, well, you're only little. But that is not what I experienced in my education at that age. I had a Steiner education. The Waldorfschule, the schools, amazing. And what you learn in those education systems, because they're not like the mainstream education systems, they are of the connection of the physical and the spiritual. And when you learn about how to grow food, so how to plant a, you know, whether it doesn't matter whether it's a potato or a cucumber or a carrot or whatever, or a sunflower. I love sunflowers, one of my favorites. So I learnt as a little girl that if you grow, this is a really, really simple thing. You grow mustard seed plants. They're amazing because you can eat. It's like people go, ooh, they're weeds. Oh, I must spray them. No, don't do that. Don't buy the shit from the excuse my French, from the supermarket. Go research what plants are growing outside wherever you live. Could be in the city. I've seen tomatoes growing in cities, right? There's another guy that's has shown this as well, around Manchester. When you realize that nature is an unstoppable force, you realize how powerful great consciousness is. They will never be able to subdue us. We are there's some of us that remember other lives, and I know that. And then there's some of us that it doesn't matter whether you remember your other lives. That's not the point. The point is that you remember that you are more powerful, and you are an aspect of something way more powerful than these. Uh, I'm trying to think of a word. I like to call them Borg. Someone else calls them Not Milk. And like I said, I'm going to mention his name at the end. Um, they are artificial. They are not connected to spirit, great spirit. They have lost their way. And so they have this kind of controlling thing going on. It's bizarre. And I've seen it all through my life. I knew this when I was like a really small girl. I could see all this weird shit going on. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, I would go and rescue pigeons in London, bring the pigeon home, heal it, you know, feed it, clean it, heal it. And then I'd go and take it out. And I was living in southeast London at the time. And I was little. And the pigeon lived with me. I carried it all the way home on the train, but then it lived with me. My parents actually let me do this, bless them. And then I carried it all the way down through the flats. I walked outside and I took it to the greenest part where I knew where all the birds hung around. There were trees there, flowers, a little bit of grass in amongst all the flats. You call them apartments in America, by the way, and possibly in Europe and such places. And to see that bird after I carried it from London, which was I was born in London, really, really smelly place, bring that animal home and to see it come back to strength and then to just to take it out and go, look, there's your friends. Look, I was so small at the time, that's what I was doing. And I think this is people are afraid to reconnect with their child, that you know their true child. It's not childish. That's a whole different thing. The word, and it's all words, but we this is what we have been given in our generations. Okay, after WW2. Anyway, I think I should continue to read because I think I've said enough about that, but it all pertains to this as well. Whew, wow, powerful stuff. However, the conditions of modern life, which is what I was talking about, and the fact that the goal of the magical passes has been formulated to apply to a great number of people. And I think that also a lot of it, this is why I have so much respect for Castaneda, is that he has brought forward Don Juan's stuff. I read all the books, by the way. I got totally immersed in Don Juan. Fascinating. If you've got time and you like real books, you know, real books, then do it. You know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Listen to your heart and don't be afraid. And yeah, I've been very afraid, so I know why I'm saying this. I've still lost my spot in the page. This happens so much. Okay, the conditions, modern life, blah, 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 blah. That the goal of the magical parcels has been formulated to apply to a great number of people, make it imperative that a new approach be taken. So it's exactly what I was saying, is that these things are actually ancient. And I mean, I have no idea how ancient they are, but they're certainly ancient. And Castaneda is bringing this into our modern world. And there's actually a guy that he speaks about further on in the book, which I'll tell you about, who is a dancer. Can't remember his name. Fascinating. And he actually incorporated the magical passes into his dance, which is just wow. Because I've done the magical passes, right? And you can do this on a daily basis. It's like, hang on, let me just put my finger where otherwise I'll lose my spot. Imperative. Right, okay. So, something that Don Juan teaches, which I think is a really good teaching, and it is to do with that great spirit that I was talking about before, and that is that when it doesn't matter what time of day, I don't think it matters. They say, well, you must do it when you get up in the morning, and then you must do it when you go to bed at night. Well, I don't think so. I think you can do it anytime. And there's this guy that I'm going to mention at the end. He also says that this kind of thing, and If anyone knows the channel, they'll know when I say this saying. Because I said so. Because we're not going to do this nonsense anymore. We are, we are lightening. You know what I mean? It's not, it's, when I say lightening, it's, we are realizing, and it's, you know, it's all the colors. And when I say all the colors, it is the spectrum of the spirit. It's the toroid. We are this amazing, powerful toroid. And the reason we're being dragged into shops, oh, come and spend money here and do this and do that, and, you know, take your attention away from that inner conversation, which I think is so important. I have a lot of conversation with myself all the time. It's fascinating. Anyway, going back to tensegrity, we never left. Tensegrity should be practiced in whatever form is easiest. There we are. Either in groups or alone or both. Or with animals, because and in nature it's just beautiful. It is kind of a Tai Chi thing, okay? But it's from Mexico. Well, that region anyway. In my particular case, the practice of tensegrity, this is Castaneda speaking, I do believe, but I might correct myself. In my particular case, the practice of tensegrity in very large groups has been more than ideal. It's very beneficial. And we know this from actual scientific data that has been collected, where they have had, and we're talking like thousands upon thousands of people all over the world, all connecting at one particular time, and you concentrate on one thing, right? Whatever it may be, right? I'm not going to go into the details. And they've actually had readings. So they've used electronic devices to read this off people in different parts of the world that all connect together at the same point. Okay, there's the toroid. We are the toroid. In my particular case, the practice of tensegrity in very large groups has been more than ideal, because it has given me the unique opportunity of witnessing something which Don Juan Matius and all the sorcerers of his lineage never did. The effects of human mass. I call it spiritual mass, but, you know, it's a terminology. Don Juan and all the shamans of his lineage, which he considered to be 27 generations long, never were capable of witnessing the effects of human mass. They practiced the magical passes alone, or in groups of up to 5. So that's quite small, but still quite powerful. 5 practitioners. For them, the magical passes were highly individualistic. If the number of tensegrity practitioners is in the hundreds, an energetic current is nearly instantaneously formed among them. So we don't even need thousands, really, when you think about it. We can do it in groups of like multiples of 10, you know, and multiples of 50, multiples of 100, and so on and so forth. This energetic current, which a shaman could easily see, creates the practitioners a sense of urgency. Now we know we're in a sense of urgency with all the nut bar, clown world, weird stuff that's going on. But this is even more urgent now. So any of you energetic lovelies, come on. It is like a vibratory wind that sweeps through them and gives them the primary elements of purpose. I have been privileged to see something I consider to be a portentous sight. If anyone doesn't know what portentous is, go get your dictionaries. Sorry. The awakening of purpose, the energetic basis of man. Now, when I say man, we're talking about woman as well. It's a terminology. Don Juan Matios used to call this unbending intent. Now, Ryan, He taught me that unbending intent is the essential tool. Now, I might reread certain sections because that's the whole point. We need to keep our toroid moving. That's our aura, by the way. So anyone that thinks that your spirit is inside your body, your spirit is what contains your body. It holds it all the physicality together. It connects you to the nature, to the next person, animal, whatever. The water, the sky, the land. Right, now I've lost my plot again here. I'm in my spot. It is like a vibratory wind. I've been privileged to see something I consider to be a portentous sight, the awakening of purpose, the energetic basis of man. Don Juan Matius used to call this unbending intent. He taught me that unbending intent is the essential tool of those who journeyed into the unknown. Now, a lot of us don't journey into the unknown because we'll just go down the supermarket and then we'll go get petrol and then we'll go pick the kids up, whatever your life is, right? But there are other times that are so important, and they are to do with your individual spirit. Now, if you're, sorry, I have to say this. Whew. Please don't crucify me for this. If you are a mother or a father and you've brought someone into the world, have you ever thought about that you were that little? You went through that whole experience yourself, and you existed before you became physical. So this is so important that we think about these. They're like part of that beautiful curve of our toroid, right? Because that is what we are. We are energy going. A very important issue to consider when practicing tensegrity is that the movements must be executed with the idea that the benefit of the magical passes comes by itself. This idea must be stressed at any cost. So you can't force this. You have to get to know your spirit. We've all forgotten about our spirit. Well, maybe not all of us. I certainly haven't. But a lot have forgotten about their spirit. And they just think, well, I'm just this meat suit. I wander around and then I keel over and that's the end of that. And they shove me in the ground or bone me up or whatever they do. But that's not the case. Because we continue. So the universe is literally mental, right? And it's a sad term, really, because it's consciousness. And consciousness is what we are, our physicality is the true receptor of. So the brain, the heart, the gut. We've got 3 brains. 3. One up here, one in our heart, one in our gut. That's the physical. But, and I think Donnie Darko, the director's cut, really did make one of the best analysis of what kind of how the spirit can be perceived. I mean, I can actually see auras around trees and animals and people as well. Not always, but there's times. And we can all do this. We all have the same power. Okay, so it's not just me. I'm not saying, "Ooh, look at me. Oh, I'm so much better than you." No, it's nothing like that. It's about getting to know yourself, because we've forgotten who we really are. Okay, and that's exactly what the Borg do. They love it. They love us to forget who we really are. It's hilarious. Right, hang on a minute. I'm just going to get my spot again. So this idea must be stressed at any cost, if you remember. I mean, I can reiterate. A very important issue to consider when practicing tensegrity is that movements must be executed with the idea that the benefit of the magical passes comes by itself. What's that song? Don't push it, don't force it, let it happen naturally. If it's meant to happen, then it will surely be. So, anyway, it's probably not the best rendition, but hey ho. This idea must be stressed at any cost. At the beginning, it is very difficult to discern the fact that tensegrity is not a standard system of movements for developing the body. It indeed develops the body, but only as a byproduct of a more transcendental effect, the mind. So I've always felt this, that we have a silver thread that connects to, that beautiful consciousness that made all this amazing world. I mean, it is fascinating. Just blows my mind sometimes. Develops the body, but only as a byproduct. By redeploying unused energy. So, what tensegrity, what the magical passes are about, is actually learning that we are a toroid, and it is to redeploy our energy, because we can have energy stuck over here in our body, and we get pains, and I've got pains. Magical passes is about comprehending your spirit. That's what I've gotten from it, and that when energy gets stuck in certain areas, it can give you pain. Okay, the pain can become more excruciating when you have physical things to deal with and emotional things to deal with that are in this world, because we live in more than one world. Okay, it's very important to realize that. Many people don't. They think, oh, we're just here, we pop out, meh, and then we go, and we die, and that's it. But it isn't that at all, because we were here long before, and we are going to carry on long after. And the Borg aren't. I always lose my spot on the page. Oh, right, redeploying unused energy. The magical passes can conduce the practitioner to a level of awareness in which the parameters of normal traditional perception are cancelled out by the fact that they are expanded. So, and this is where the mind is. That's what I was just talking about. Is that we all share the mind. The mind is not in your skull. Okay, it is a etheric, conscious energy that exists everywhere. It's everywhere. And so sometimes we connect with animal consciousness, which is still nonetheless mind. Mind is just another expression of consciousness from my perspective. So the practitioner can thus be allowed even to enter into unimaginable worlds. Now, people have written music about this as well. And some of it is like dance music, some of it is rock, some of it is like Celtic, some of it is, classical, it goes on. Go and listen to Debussy, Snowflakes Are Dancing. And the gentleman I'm going to mention at the end was talking about the Lark Ascending the other day, which is an incredible piece of music. And it's a violin piece with orchestra accompaniment. But why would I want to enter into these worlds? Castellina asked Don Juan, when he described this post effect of the magical passes. Well, I think that once you actually start to realize that you're more than just this physical experience, you certainly are this physical experience, but you're actually another aspect of consciousness, which I've discovered. So Don Juan says, because you are a creature of awareness. Now, I know I'm reiterating from yesterday, but I think it's important that sometimes we go over stuff because I've been thinking about this quite a lot. Like the rest of us, he said, human beings are on a journey of awareness. There we are. Which has been momentarily interrupted by extraneous forces. I call them the Borg. The gentleman I'm going to mention calls them something else. Believe me, we are magical creatures of awareness. If we don't have this conviction, we have nothing. He further explained that human beings, from the moment their journey of awareness was interrupted, have been caught in an eddy. So an eddy, there's a good way of explaining it. If you live near the sea, you get eddies in the sea. And what it does is you'll get a current that will go that way, and then there'll be another current that will come along, and it will create an eddy, and you'll get like this thing that it doesn't go down, and it's kind of a confused current. So you've got one coming one way, one coming the other way. And you get it in rivers as well. I mean, it's beautiful. If you've spent any time in nature, you'll know what I'm talking about. We've been caught in eddies, so to speak, and are spinning around. There we are. Having the impression of moving with the current. Now, the reason I explained that is because when I just read out what's in the book, that there's no experience in it. So if I tell you what I've experienced, I mean, I used to go jumping into rivers and bring crayfish out as a 7-year-old and 8-year-old. You know, I spent loads of times, and we had freshwater crabs. This is in Germany. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Consciousness is everywhere, but beware of the eddies. Awareness, right? So the awareness was interrupted with the eddies. Okay, we've gotten that to that. Having the impression of moving the current. Oh, I missed a bit. Sorry. Have been caught in the eddies, so to speak, and are spinning around, having the impression of moving the current, and yet remaining stationary. So, and that's actually true, because if you find a current like that, sometimes you'll just be stationary and this thing will just go around you. I've been in water like that. Don Juan says, take my word, because mine are not arbitrary statements. My word is the result of corroboration. For myself, what the shamans of ancient Mexico found out, that we human beings are magical beings. Now, don't get triggered, right? I respect any religion. Magic, like supernatural, is of great source, great spirit, God, whatever you want to call that consciousness. But that we're all part of that. It has taken me 30 years of hard discipline to come to a cognitive plateau in which Don Juan's statements are recognizable and their validity is established beyond the shadow of a doubt. I know now that human beings are creatures of awareness involved in an evolutionary... Now, we're not going with Darwin here. This is spiritual evolution. Involved in an evolutionary journey of awareness. Beings indeed unknown to themselves, because many have forgotten. Filled to the brim with incredible resources that are never used. Come on. We need to use our power. You know, I mean, for good. Now, I'm going to be reading more and more about this particular writing because I think it's important. The next chapter is 6 series of tensegrity, which I'm not going to start reading now, but I want to thank you if you care to listen, and I wish you a good day. Right, I'm going to stop it now.